This week we're reading two Torah portions, the second of which is Parshas Masei. Parshas Masei recounts the traveling that the Jewish people did during the 40 years that they were in the desert. And as much as in the moment it must have been very difficult for the Jewish people traveling from place to place, in retrospect, when you see the places that they travel, we see that each one of them was a place where God intended for them to be at that very moment. In addition, Rashi, quoting the Medrash, points out that during 38 of those 40 years, they only traveled to 20 different places. So it wasn't like they were traveling every single day, every single week. They did have a certain amount of stability, even though they were traveling from place to place. Perhaps the most difficult part of the traveling was that they never knew when they were going to go to the next place. They never knew when they were going to travel, where they were going to travel, and therefore their lives had a certain amount of uncertainty. The way to overcome that would have been to have trust in Hashem, that He's looking out for them, that He's taking care of them, and then everything will be okay. You know, they say life can sometimes be a roller coaster. We have our ups, we have our downs, we have our hanging upside downs, and I think that mashal, that parable, is very, very accurate. Because just like a roller coaster, when you're going up, when you're going down, you're going to the right, you're going to the left, it seems to be that it's completely random. The whole time you're really attached to a track. The whole time the track is predetermined for you to know exactly where you're going to go. So when you're on the roller coaster, it might seem like things are totally out of control, but of course you know that you're attached to that track and everything is going to be okay. The same thing is in our lives. Whether we're going up, whether we're going down, whether we're hanging upside down, or whether we feel like we're at that edge and we're about to fall off, we're really on a track. Hashem has put us on a track. Hashem is putting us in the right place at the right time and doing for us exactly what needs to be done. There's a story about a young man when he was a young teenager. He was 18 or 19 years old, and he took a trip to visit some of his friends in Los Angeles. He lived in New York. He traveled to Los Angeles to visit his friends. And while he was there, he rented a car. And one night, while he was sleeping, his friends decided that they're going to borrow his car and go out for a little joyride. Unfortunately, while they were driving around, they got into a car accident. They came back because they were afraid. They fled the scene, and they convinced the boy whose car it was to go back and say that it was him who got into the accident. So, being the naive teenager that he was, he did that. He went back, and when he got back to the scene, he was immediately arrested for a hit and run. And that caused him tremendous legal problems over the years that stayed on his record for many, many years. Time went on. He went back to New York. He moved on with his life. He became an accountant, and he was applying for a job at a very prestigious firm. And it seemed like he was a shoo-in for the job. The last thing he needed to do in order to get the job was to fill out a HR form. And the last question on that form was, have you ever been arrested? So he had to fill out that he was. He tried to explain to him that it wasn't his fault, but he never got the job. He was very upset. He was upset at the time when the incident happened. He was upset again when he lost the job. But a short time after that was September 11th, 2001. And the firm that he had applied for, which he thought he would get a job, was a firm that was in the World Trade Center. And who knows what would have happened to him if he would have gotten that job. So we have those ups, we have those downs, but we always have to remember that whatever's happening in our life, we're on that track. We're on the right track because it's the track that Hashem put us on. And although it can sometimes be a little scary, although sometimes it can be a little confusing, it can make us uneasy, we have to realize that Hashem has created a specific track just for us in our lives. And if we have that faith in Hashem, then Hashem will take care of everything else. Have a great Shabbos.